What if the loneliness you've been blaming on life, people, and the world was actually coming from a place inside you that you've never faced? Sounds crazy, right? But think about it. What if the real reason you feel alone in a crowd isn't because no one cares, but because you've spent so long pretending you're okay that you've forgotten what being understood even feels like? What if the people around you aren't ignoring you? You're just too tired to let them in anymore. And here's the twist. What if your loneliness isn't a weakness, but a message, a signal, a quiet alarm going off inside you saying, hey, you deserve better connections than the ones you've been settling for? Imagine that. Imagine discovering that you're not broken, you're just surrounded by conversations that don't feed your soul, moments that don't match your depth, and people who don't really hear the version of you that speaks in silence. But what if all of that changed the moment you gave yourself permission to be real again? To stop acting strong all the time, to stop pretending you don't care, to stop shrinking around people who were never meant to understand you. And here's the wild part. What if the connection you've been searching for is actually closer than you think? What if one honest moment, one honest conversation, one honest version of you could change everything? Stay with me. Because once you understand this truth, loneliness won't be something that follows you. It'll be something you finally walk away from. Psychology says the strangest kind of loneliness is the one that sits beside you even when the room is full, the conversations are loud, and everyone thinks you're perfectly fine. It's the kind of loneliness that doesn't scream. It whispers, and that whisper is louder than any crowd you've ever been in. Emotional disconnection, despite physical presence, happens when your mind realizes something that others never notice. People are near you, but not with you. They see your face, not your feelings. They hear your voice, not your truth. And that gap, tiny, invisible, impossible to explain, becomes a wall that only grows thicker with time. You start wondering, why does no one get me? And that question becomes a quiet punch to the heart. You might laugh with them, but the laughter feels borrowed. You smile, but it feels like a duty. You talk, but it feels like acting. And the scariest part? No one ever notices that every word you speak is a mask perfectly stitched to hide the loneliness eating you slowly. This kind of emotional disconnection makes you feel like a ghost in your own life. Present, but not felt. Seen, but not known. It shocks you when you realize you can feel more alone in a crowd than in an empty room, because at least in the empty room, your loneliness is honest. But in a crowd, the loneliness hits harder. It almost feels like betrayal. The world thinks you're surrounded. Your heart knows you're not. And that truth can break even the strongest person from the inside, making them believe they don't belong anywhere, not even where they are sitting right now. Psychology reveals a terrifying truth. The loudest loneliness is not the one you feel when no one is around, but the one that grows inside you while you're surrounded by people who have no idea what storms you are hiding. The inner voice that no one hears is both your companion and your prison. It whispers things you never say out loud. Your fears, your doubts, your disappointments. And because you silence it in front of others, it grows darker, heavier, more powerful. You smile, but your inner voice is crying. You talk, but your inner voice is shaking. You laugh, but your inner voice whispers, you're not okay. And the shocking part, no one notices. Not because they don't care, but because you've trained yourself to hide it so well that even you start believing your own performance. This inner voice becomes a second version of you, one that stays awake when the world sleeps, one that replays old pain like a movie you never wanted to watch, one that asks questions you're too scared to answer. It tells you that no one truly knows you, and maybe no one ever will. It convinces you that speaking up will make you look weak, so you keep everything inside until the weight becomes unbearable. And here's the twist. The more you silence your inner voice in public, the louder it becomes in private. It screams in the quiet moments, it haunts you in the mirror, it shows up when you pretend everything is normal. That's why loneliness in a crowd hurts more. It's not the people around you who make you feel alone. It's the battle inside you that no one else can hear. And the scariest part is how easily this silent war can consume you while the world thinks you're perfectly fine. Psychology exposes a brutal reality. Some of the loneliest people in the world are the ones who have mastered the art of acting perfectly fine. Masking pain through social performance is one of the most dangerous emotional habits because it allows you to function on the outside while you slowly fall apart on the inside. You become so good at pretending that even the people closest to you have no idea how much weight you're carrying. You laugh at the right time, nod at the right time, behave exactly how society expects, but none of it feels real. It's like living behind a glass wall. You can see everyone, they can see you, but no one can truly touch the real you. And here's the shocking part. Every time you hide your pain, you teach your brain that your emotions don't deserve space, don't deserve attention, don't deserve to be expressed. So your mind starts burying them deeper, compressing them, suffocating them until they turn into a silent ache that follows you everywhere. You become an expert at emotional camouflage, blending in so no one suspects the chaos happening inside your chest. You start telling yourself, no one would understand. So you put on a stronger smile. You tell yourself, my problems aren't important. So you make jokes to distract others. You tell yourself, I can handle it. But the truth is, the loneliness born from hiding pain is sharper, colder, more destructive than the loneliness of being alone. Because when you're alone, at least you're honest with yourself. But when you're surrounded by people and still forced to act, the loneliness becomes a prison you built with your own hands. And the scariest thing, the world applauds your strength, while having no idea that your strength is actually your suffering in disguise. Psychology delivers one of the most shocking truths about loneliness. Sometimes it's not the world that keeps you alone, it's your own mind. The brain's attachment to familiar pain is a psychological trap that most people don't even realize they're living in. When you grow up expecting rejection, criticism, or emotional neglect, your brain starts treating that pain as normal, even safe. So when someone tries to get close to you, you pull away. Not because you don't want love, but because closeness feels dangerous, unfamiliar, and unpredictable. Your brain trusts what it already knows, even if what it knows is hurting you. This is why some people feel intensely lonely in a crowd. The moment someone tries to understand them, care for them, or break their walls, their mind panics. It whispers, don't get too close, you'll get hurt again. So you distance yourself, but that distance turns into emptiness. You avoid emotional intimacy, but that avoidance becomes isolation. You protect your heart, but that protection slowly breaks it. And the most shocking part, your brain chooses loneliness over connection, because loneliness feels familiar. Comfort in pain is one of the darkest psychological patterns. You replay old wounds like a habit. You sabotage new relationships without realizing it. You expect people to leave, so you withdraw before they ever try, and the world sees a quiet, reserved, maybe even strong person, while inside, your mind is replaying the same fear on loop. Don't trust, don't open up, don't let anyone see you. This creates a loneliness that no amount of people can erase. A loneliness born not from being alone, but from being emotionally locked inside a past your brain refuses to let go of. Psychology exposes a truth most people never admit. Sometimes the deepest loneliness comes from losing yourself, not from losing others. In a world where everything is loud, fast, competitive, and constantly comparing one person to another, your identity slowly gets drowned out. You look around and everyone seems to know who they are, what they want, and where they're going, while you feel like a blurry version of yourself. This loss of identity creates a strange kind of emptiness that follows you everywhere, even in crowded rooms. You start feeling like you're watching your own life happen from the outside, like you're present but not participating, visible but not valued. The shocking part is how quietly this happens. It doesn't hit you all at once. It creeps in through small cracks, scrolling through perfect lives online, hearing people celebrate achievements you haven't reached, feeling overshadowed by louder personalities, watching others live with confidence while you're still trying to figure out who you're supposed to be. Slowly, you begin to shrink. Not physically, but emotionally. You stop sharing opinions because you fear they don't matter. You hold back dreams because you assume they're unrealistic. You silence your real self because you think the world won't accept it. And this silence becomes a form of loneliness that no one else can recognize. You're surrounded by people, yet you feel invisible. Not because they can't see you, but because you can't see yourself anymore. You become a mirror for others, reflecting their expectations, their energy, their needs, while your own identity fades like a forgotten echo. And the scariest part, the more you lose yourself, the more disconnected you feel, not from people, but from your own soul. That emptiness becomes a loneliness that follows you from room to room, crowd to crowd, moment to moment, refusing to leave because it lives inside the version of you that you stopped being. Psychology reveals something painfully real. Loneliness doesn't disappear when you add more people to your life. It disappears only when you find the right ones. The shocking truth is that a room full of faces means nothing if none of those faces make you feel understood. Human beings don't crave company, they crave connection. And when that connection is missing, every interaction feels like noise, every conversation feels shallow, and every moment spent with others feels like pretending. This is why some people feel more alone at a party than they do in their own bedroom. They are surrounded, but not seen. They are heard, but not understood. They are included, but not valued. And that gap between proximity and connection creates a loneliness so deep it can follow you into every crowd. The need for meaningful connection is wired into the human brain. We're built for emotional safety, for relationships where we can say what we feel without fear, where someone actually listens instead of waiting for their turn to talk, where we don't have to shrink ourselves to fit in. When those connections are missing, your heart starts to starve. Even if your life looks socially full from the outside, you start noticing how tiring conversations become when they lack depth, how draining people feel when they don't know you beyond the surface, how crowded places make you feel even emptier. And slowly, you begin to realize that you can sit with 10 people and still feel forgotten, but sit with one person who truly understands you and feel complete. The most shocking part is how many people spend their whole lives mistaking company for connection. They collect friendships, followers, contacts, yet the loneliness remains. Because what the heart craves is not a crowd, but a bond. Not attention, but understanding. Not more people, but the right person who makes you feel like you finally belong. In the end, this entire journey leads to one simple truth. Loneliness isn't just about being alone, it's about being unseen, unheard and untouched in a world that never stops moving. But the moment you understand your inner world, the moment you stop hiding behind masks, and the moment you allow yourself to seek real connection instead of crowded noise, everything begins to change. You don't have to carry invisible battles forever, and you don't have to shrink your heart just to fit into places that were never meant for you. You deserve people who understand your silence, your depth, your scars and your story. If today's message touched something inside you, then you're already on the path to understanding yourself at a deeper level. And here on Psych Key, that's exactly what we explore: how the human mind works, why we feel what we feel, and how to break these emotional patterns that hold us back. So if this resonated, take a moment to like the video and share it with someone who might be fighting the same quiet battles. Your small action might become their big breakthrough. And I'd love to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What part of this spoke to you the most? What loneliness have you been carrying in silence? Finally, don't forget to subscribe to Psych Key so you never miss the psychology secrets that can change how you see yourself and how you see the world. The journey doesn't end here. It starts with you.